Lauren. My name is Kelly Johnston Dorsey. I'm with the City of Omaha's Planning Department. I'm so glad you've joined us this evening for our second question and answer session about the Choice Neighborhoods Planning and Action Grant. So you'll hear us refer to it as CNP, and the purpose of tonight's meeting is to answer your questions. That's it. We're here to respond to questions we've already heard. So we have those, and then if you have questions, we want to answer those live as we go through this presentation. So tonight, like I said, we're talking about the Choice Neighborhoods Planning and Action Grant. We also have another Choice Neighborhood Grant, it's an implementation grant. So we want to differentiate between the two. Right now, the Planning and Action Grant, which is the purpose of tonight's meeting, is focused on the Southside Terrace Indian Hill neighborhood. It's a 3.5-year grant that is $1.3 million. The output coming out of this grant is a transformation plan and action activities. This is different from the implementation grant that we have up north, which focuses on the North 30th Street Spencer Homes neighborhood. It's a 5-year, $25 million grant. From that will be the demolition of Spencer Homes, more than 400 mixed income housing units, Spencer Homes residents reaching their identified goals, and over $3.75 million of neighborhood improvements. That's hopefully where we'll end up going with the Planning and Action Grant, but first we need to create the plan on how to get there. So here's our team who's working on this project, and you'll see a lot of the faces here tonight. So with the City of Omaha, Bill Lukash, the Assistant Planning Director, myself, Kelly, Mariana, and Laisha as well. At the Omaha Housing Authority, Joni Poor, and Lauren, who is on the call and the presentation tonight as well. Our partners Canopy South, Cesar Garcia, and Crystal are joining us as well. So this is our team, and I'm so glad we are here together. So if you have questions, you can enter those on the Facebook Live comments section, just like you would make comments on anyone else's post. And you can also, if you're on Zoom, you can enter it into the Zoom chat. So here, there is an image of where you can find that. So those are two ways you can enter questions for tonight's meeting. The Choice Neighborhoods has 3 main focus areas: housing, people, and neighborhoods. So housing focuses on, of course, like it sounds, housing, and looking at how we can, planning for what would essentially ultimately replace Southside Terrace and other housing options within the neighborhood. Looking at people, how we can work with the people at Southside Terrace and in the broader neighborhood, reach their identified goals and overcome barriers that they have identified in some different surveys and needs assessments. And then neighborhood, so making enhancements to the neighborhood, just overall lifting up the area, improvements as desired by the neighborhood residents. So going into our questions, and I'm going to switch screens really quick here. And we will run through a few that we have already received. Again, if you have questions as we're going through this, go ahead and enter it in the chat for Zoom, or you can put it in the Facebook Live comments because we're monitoring that as well. Our first question we received, and it's a very popular one: when will Southside Terrace be demolished? So I'm going to turn it over to Lauren at the Omaha Housing Authority to answer that question.
Hello, everyone. I apologize for my technology barriers. For Southside Terrace demolition, the answer to that question that we get a lot is we don't know. We anticipate that the demolition of Southside Terrace would take place in phases, and it's our goal to provide residents of Southside Terrace with substantial notice before any of the demolition takes place. And any tenant that's affected by demolition is entitled to receive relocation benefits and will also have the right to return to redeveloped housing if the demolition, or if the site is redeveloped under this Choice Neighborhoods implementation grant. Another question that we've gotten is from Southside Terrace residents about moving and how that would impact the ability to return at some point if we decided to proceed forward with a rebuild of the community. So tenants who choose to move from Southside Terrace are not eligible to receive relocation benefits if they move before we've been submitted an application for a CNI grant. If any tenants who voluntarily move and are not relocated by OHA, they would not have a right to return. If they're in good standing and they're living in Southside Terrace, when the application has been submitted, then they would be eligible for relocation benefits. They would work with our team to apply for any housing options available to them that become an option as the CNI grant would dictate. If tenants don't meet that criteria of being good standing, which would mean compliant on your lease, up to date on your rent or your PID, and no significant maintenance issues, then you may not be eligible for criteria for redeveloped housing once the construction and application process has been determined. And then I'll turn it over to Kelly to talk about action activities.
Oh, thanks, Lauren. So what are example action activities? What have other cities done? So within our grant, we have over $1 million at this point of money set aside to implement action activities. We don't know what those action activities are yet for Southside Terrace Indian Hill, because we need a lot more community engagement to help direct what those action activities are going to be. So throughout our planning processes, we continue to launch different engagement opportunities and continue to talk to residents and stakeholders in the area that will help us form what these action activities will be. But just to get everyone's kind of mind churning about what the potential could be, I do have a couple of examples here from other communities. So these first four that I'm going to show you are from one community. So they've decided to do many different smaller projects. So in this grant, what they did is they improved bus stops in the neighborhood. So these are different images of bus stops within the community that were enhanced with action activity funds through this Choice Neighborhoods grant. So again, this is just one example of what one community had done. As you can see, all of the stops look very different. So it's very exciting, a nice enhancement for that neighborhood. Another project they did was vacant lots transformation. So what they did with a couple of these lots is transform them into these community spaces, right? So a stage, a place where they've cleared out debris, they've cleared out brush, and they're using them for, as you can see here, like community gathering spaces where you can have a meal and share a meal with other people, benches, just a very community-driven focused space. Something else they've done is they're land banking a lot. So they purchased kind of a more prominent lot in the neighborhood and they're holding on to that for future development. And then this last lot that they purchased is they turned and they use these containers to turn them into like pop-up office spaces for different entrepreneurs, different reasons for, community needs can use these spaces. And then you can see as well, they also have some community gardens outside of them. So this overall transformation of a couple of vacant lots. Something else they've done is worked on a spray ground in the neighborhood park. So some happy images of summertime kids playing in this spray ground. So there's something else that they did. And then lastly here, they worked on an overpass mural design. So a railroad tracks and bridge run through the community, run through the neighborhood, and they enhanced underneath for, people walking primarily, people driving as well, and then branded the outside of it as well for that nice enhancement to the neighborhood. So you can see a couple of images there. So that is how one community spent their action activity funds. Another example I'll show you is from a different community, and they also selected numerous smaller projects. So here they selected the 8 different murals for within the community. There's an example of one. They also are working on neighborhood markers to go throughout the community. It helps with branding, identification, placemaking, just something nice for their neighborhood to kind of rally around. Worked on a music park for a place to gather, hear live music, and working on that neighborhood enhancement park space. They've done some traffic calming and planters. So it's helping to make pedestrians feel safer as they're walking along in the community. And a storefront facade improvement program. So 12 different facades or businesses or property owners are taking place in this program to enhance the exterior of their buildings. So here's another example of what they're doing there. And also purchased another or have another property that they're transforming into a public space with public art and landscaping in a former median. So really beautifying it, turn it into a pocket park and utilizing that space completely differently. So those are just a couple of examples of what 2 other communities have done with their action activity funds. And I know we're really excited to get a better understanding of what this community would like to see in transforming spaces and creating some awesome opportunities with those funds that we already have. So that's an example there. Another question that we've received is any of the money going to cameras or safety? It's about to get hot out, and last year there were several stabbings and shootings in my backyard. So Lauren, you want to take this one?
Yes, definitely. I do want to say that the person who asked this question is not with us tonight in participation, but this does not mean that this isn't a question that we have heard from more than one resident at Southside Terrace. So this is something that OHA is working with the community to be as responsive as possible on right now. And our ongoing efforts for Choice Neighborhoods Planning Grant, they're not eligible to be used for safety and security at this time. But in addition to regular patrols of Southside Terrace, resuming a safety and security manager position and additional security personnel are currently in the process of being hired by Omaha Housing Authority. We're continuing to work closely with Omaha Police Department to inform them at the Southwest Precinct and the gang unit to address the gatherings of the crowds that have been taking place last year. And then as residents are reporting, are starting to start again now that the weather has changed. And it's a little bit nicer out. So they're working to address the gatherings of crowds that are often engaged in illegal activities on and near Southside Terrace property. We strongly encourage any tenants who see crowds gathering to contact 911 immediately. And tenants can also request to be anonymous when they make a call and indicate that they don't want to be seen by officers to respond to the scene. So if a resident is hesitant, or you as a resident are hesitant to call the police because you're worried about them coming to your door and then you being associated with making that call and fear for some type of retaliation or action. When you make the call, report that you would like to remain anonymous and that you're not engaged when police come to the scene. That should be enough for you to feel safe enough to make that call. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Kelly to talk about Mindmixer.
Okay, so we received another question. What are the points on omaha.mindmixer.com for? So we hope you are all familiar. We have an online engagement site, www.omaha.mindmixer.com. We encourage you to go there. We've got questions posted and we will continue to switch those out every couple of weeks. So the more you participate on that website, the more feedback you give, the more points you get. So we haven't decided really how we're going to cash in those points, if you will, yet, but we're brainstorming different ideas now. So if you have any great ideas, let us know. We're all ears. But it's a way to we're trying to increase participation by offering those points on omaha.mindmixer.com. So go there, answer some questions, give us your input. And then you can get some cool points. So I see there's a couple of comments in the chat, but I can't quite go there since I'm sharing screen. Could someone read those out? That'll be awesome.
I have one from Facebook. It's a long one. So I will kind of share the general information that they're looking to have answered. Kelly, we did have a request that could you potentially make that page a little bit larger or zoom in so people can read the text a little bit better? Okay, so I'll wait for you to get started because I'd like to turn this one over to you. Oh, and there it is. She's on top of it. Go ahead, Kelly, take it away.
This will take me a second to read first. Let's see.
Talking about infrastructure.
I can actually read it as well in case someone's viewing and this is too small.
Yeah, so I'll help you. So we had a great question talking about infrastructure. So if any funding is going to go towards It sounds like they're asking currently towards improved roads, sidewalks, parking, and cleanup. Parking is minimal. Sidewalks and roads do not meet some of the standards for disabled individuals. There's a lack of disabled parking throughout the entire site, which is, I think, specifically Southside Terrace. Also, what about trash, glass, and some dangerous health hazard debris all throughout the property? Garbage service does not do it. Does do an appropriate job when they collect the trash. They shake trash all over and do not pick it up. Not to mention, with the amount of people currently living in the complex, there's not enough dumpsters. So go ahead and talk about infrastructure, and then I can talk about site maintenance.
Sounds like a fair deal. So in terms of improved roads, sidewalks, parking, currently we have received a grant for a multimodal transportation study. So it's really focusing on walking, biking, using transit in the community, as well as freight and automobiles that clearly use the area as well. So with that, there's going to be more engagement, wanting to better understand where people need to go, how they're getting there, and what the barriers are in getting there, right? Because ultimately we want to make it easier. And so that plan will identify what some needed improvements are for roads, sidewalks, and parking. It's looking at parking as well. And we'll make recommendations as to what needs to be done. So that could be an action activity potentially, right? The grant will not fund what they consider basic city services like plain sidewalks. But if it is an enhancement and it's part of a larger beautification project with lighting and signage and things like that, that could potentially be eligible for the funding we already have in place. So the answer is the funds could go there. And if we're hearing that that's a desire and a want for the community, I think that will help get us to that point, right? All the recommendations and decisions and selection of what funds are going to go towards is community driven. So if we're hearing that, that's what we need to hear to make those changes happen. Hopefully that makes sense and I answer that question. We're going to talk about trash.
Yeah. Trash, that's a very common question and concern. It's definitely something that the Housing Authority is on the beat about. It's also a little bit complicated because there are a lot of steps involved to have approval for things to start moving. If you're on site and you live there, you'll notice that there's been some updates to the dumpsters having signage, and letters have gone out about towing and not blocking the dumpsters when they're being picked up and emptied by the city. So that's one of the efforts that's currently in place. Behind the scenes, we're also working to procure funds to move forward with purchasing additional trash cans to be placed on site. We're also exploring some options related to marking parking. I haven't had a specific conversation with someone about accessibility, so that's something that I will definitely bring back to this team here at OHA. And there's also, I'll turn it over to Canopy South to talk about an effort that's coming up in the near future related to this topic as well. Cesar, Crystal, you want to take that?
Yeah, no, I actually, two things. Even though we are not using any of the funds right now to fix any of the sidewalks, the city of Omaha have taken some proactive approach, and along 30th Street, there has been some work on those sidewalks that happened last year. And just to clarify, that's different funds. These funds have come directly from the city, and that's based on all the feedback that we had gathered from the community, from the residents of Southside Terrace, or from the residents of Indian Hill neighborhood. So that's one thing. We also are working, along with Omaha Housing Authority and others to the idea of having a big cleanup in this neighborhood. That is, in piggyback of already the efforts that are happening with the city of Omaha and in the May cleanup. We have that will be taking place on Memorial Weekend. That Saturday, we are having conversations with different organizations in the community. We want to invite everyone to be there and bring everything out that you don't want to put out in the street or the trash that will not be collected on the regular basis. we're trying to make sure that we have additional support in terms of bringing containers and extra dumpsters, so we have enough for everyone. I will encourage you that you talk to your neighbors and everyone about the opportunity that will happen this spring, once again on Memorial Weekend.
Thank you. We had one additional question that had come in before. I'm not sure if it was still on here, Kelly, about special projects. This one in particular was about an Eagle Scout project. But I think we can kind of talk about if there's an interest in just helping with beautification or being involved and engaging in a lot of the efforts that we're doing as part of the transformation plan. When we had that conversation, Cesar, you were on deck to respond to that. Do you want to just kind of talk about if people are interested, how they can engage in what ways?
I'm gonna let Crystal address that one.
Perfect.
So just to give a little bit of context, in our last Q&A, we had community members interested in helping do some sort of community project. So if you're interested in getting involved in the neighborhood, and if there is, for instance, this was a project on building a bench and some community planters. So if you have any fun, creative ideas that you would like to get the ball rolling, and you're not really sure how to start, feel free to reach out to us at CNP South, and we can try to help collaborate and connect you and try to turn some of those ideas into some tangible projects that will enhance the overall neighborhood. I will stick our contact information on Facebook as well, so you guys can give us a call, shoot us an email, let us know how we can help.
Wonderful. And then I'll turn it back over to Kelly.
So I noticed a question came in from our Q&A session yesterday about, and it was, would people be with replacement units? So what, if once Southside Terrace is demolished and new housing is built in its place, would residents be moving back into property owned by OHA? So actually, Todd, who represents our developer for the project, Brinshore Development, I gave him a heads up. Hopefully he's available if you take that question, Todd.
Yeah, I'm here. Hey guys, great meeting so far. So if we're lucky enough to be awarded implementation grant funding from HUD, the funds go towards the replacement in the turning the former public housing into mixed income rental units. So there would be an opportunity to move back into rental housing. So I think that's the direct answer to your question. But I think within the transformation plan, there will be lots of opportunities to work with CNP South and other groups to create affordable home ownership and moderate income home ownership opportunities, both for neighborhood residents and for folks coming out of Southside Terrace. So to answer your direct question, the answer is the public housing will be replaced by mixed income rental housing, but there should be other opportunities for home ownership in the neighborhood.
So Todd, for example, up north, so we have an implementation grant up on North 30th Street, and Brinshore is the co-developer with OHA up there. With those new phases that are coming online, who's owning those properties and those buildings that they would be living in?
The ownership would be a partnership of Brinshore, and we're a private company that works with housing authorities in cities all over the Midwest and the housing authority. So we work in partnership when we add some of our capacity to help create communities to OHA's strength and track record at working with residents to help create communities that a lot of different kinds of people would want to live in.
Cool, thanks, Todd. And I see another one just came in as well. I don't know. I don't know, Crystal, if you're adding this one in or if I need to. The question is, would it transfer to the same amount of bedroom size when we are placed into other living settings? So I can attempt to answer this, or Lauren or Todd, you may be more equipped to answer this in terms of making sure people are moving into the right size of apartments.
Let me take that,
Okay.
if that's okay. And Lauren, maybe you can.
Yes, Todd, go ahead.
So what the housing authority will do, and with their consultants, they'll determine whether people are underhoused, whether you're living in a situation where your housing is too crowded, or you're overhoused, where you have too many bedrooms for the amount of people living in the unit. And you'll have an opportunity to move into a unit based on your household composition at the time. So no one's going to force anyone to move in anywhere. You have a choice where you want to live, whether it's within the redeveloped Southside Terrace, or you want to take a choice voucher and go somewhere else. But they will look at how big your household is, and that will determine how many bedrooms you would qualify for.
Well, thanks, Todd. Do we have any questions in the chat function on Zoom? Could someone check?
We do not at this time in the Zoom chat.
All right, so maybe we'll give it a few more minutes to see if anything comes in through Zoom or any more comments come in on Facebook. And we did receive a nice comment on Facebook. Thank you, Todd. Thank you for your response. Thank you. All right, I know there's a little bit of delay from us going from live on Zoom to Facebook, so give it another second. All right. Crystal, you're doing a great job typing. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions coming on Facebook. Does everyone feel good with the questions we have? Does anyone else have any more questions? The recording of this presentation will be posted on sochoice.org. We will also post it on the city's YouTube channel, and OHA will post it on Facebook as well. So there's plenty of opportunities to view this presentation later. And actually, we can continue to submit questions. Let me go through there. Oh, we just got another question coming in. Let's see, security. You had mentioned there will be no cameras implemented and we are getting security personnel, correct? Lauren, are you available for that question?
Let me clarify. There are currently cameras on site. At this time, we're doing an evaluation to identify if there may be other areas on site that additional cameras need to be added to. So as of right now, that determination has not been made, but we are in the process of identifying if there is a need. And then for security personnel, so internally with OHA, we are working to build up our security department. So we are hiring a manager of our security team, and then they're going to be building up their own team in order for us to have a more enhanced opportunity to respond to security concerns at Southside Terrace and then throughout Omaha Housing Authority properties as a whole. I hope that answered your question.
Thanks, Lauren. And we have another question that just came in on Facebook. He said, the comment is, I came in late, so are they going to tear them down and rebuild? So Lauren, I think this is one you've addressed, so I'm going to toss it over to you.
Yep. So thank you for your question. Just for anybody else that might be joining before the meeting has started or after the meeting has started, we will be posting this on our Facebook page. It's also going to be on the city's YouTube page, so we'll make sure that you have access to this presentation as a whole after we finish this. But as far as demolition goes for Southside Terrace, the short answer is at this time, we do not have plans for a demolition of the public housing site. The reason for the Choice Neighborhoods Planning Grant is for us to put together a transformation plan in order to submit that for a potential Choice Neighborhoods implementation grant, which is where we receive funds to do a larger demolition and rebuild of the area. So as of right now, we are in the process of planning, information gathering, meeting with as many residents and community members as possible so we get it right and we hear from the community what they would like to see in the future of the site.
All right, cool. Thanks, Lauren. Okay, so let's see. I don't see any more questions coming in. And I will head back over to our presentation. All right, so if you thought of questions after the fact, you can view this presentation will be posted on www.sochoice.org. You can send any additional questions to the website, go on the website www.omahamindmixer.com, or you can contact Canopy South. So here's their information, info@canopysouth.org or 402-916-9293. So that's how you can continue to submit questions, which we'll respond to. As you can see, we were taking notes of all the questions and we will be posting those as well with the answers. So you just saw the questions there. We will type up answers as well and send those out also. All right, and then let's see, to vote, okay. We have an opportunity on Facebook Live. If you're viewing it right now, you can go to the website that was just posted it says CNP Doing While Planning. So those are for activities right now we can get started doing and making changes as long as they're desired and requested and prioritized by the residents and stakeholders of the community. So we've been trying to get a lot of feedback on what those activities should be, and the website that was just posted in the chat can direct you to where you can provide some additional feedback on what those activities should be. So those are activities we want to get started right now and complete by the fall. So they're smaller, short-term projects. So.
And can I just add that we also have, I'm sorry, my computer is acting up, so I'm a little frozen over here. But we also have a satellite office that the planning team has put together on site at Southside Terrace on 30th Street. If someone could help me by putting the address in the chat here and then on Facebook. We have open office hours on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, where if you see, we have a new sign up. So if you see that sign out in front of the unit, we are open for you to stop in and chat. We can have conversations like this where you're just asking questions. There may be times where we're trying to get some information related to plans that we're putting together, or like Kelly just highlighted here, the Doing While Planning opportunities. So we really welcome you to stop in and be curious and provide your feedback at any time.
All right, so
one last thing really quick while we're on the satellite office conversation, we have an interactive spring pop-up event that we'll be hosting this Thursday to get some more feedback. If you're in the neighborhood, feel free to swing by anytime between 4 and 6. We'd love to have you, meet you, chat some more. And then if you participate in some of our activities and give your feedback, we will have some goodie bags available.
Thanks, Crystal. All right, thank you everybody for viewing this question and answer session. Thank you for everyone who's here to help us answer these questions. It is a team effort, certainly, and I appreciate all of you, but we just can't do any of this without resident engagement. And so thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for asking questions tonight, because we know if you guys are asking these questions, we need to make sure everyone understands the answers. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We'll hopefully see you on Thursday afternoon at the satellite office between 4 and 6, and you'll be receiving lots more information from us coming up in the coming weeks and months. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, and have a good rest of your evening.